Julie here with Sirius Dallas Moon, Venus, our Mercury days, Soul night. Sun with Chiron, Venus 20 degrees Taurus, entering the spirit and matter decan of Taurus. Moon just crossed Mars and is on its way to Saturn. A little bit of thoughts about Uranus 29 degrees Taurus and Uranus in Venus sign. Uranus in Venus sign is Uranus in a relational sign. And if Uranus in Mars sign was the Me Too because people's sexual actions, people's sexual actions became apparent. By the way, Uranus in Scorpio. Don't expect to have. Now, Uranus in Scorpio is challenging because people are both likely to have this deep, sudden psychosexual upheavals, and they can't expect them to be secret. It's kind of like it's the way of Uranus, and Uranus that went through Aries. Everybody's business was out. Everybody, it's not like everybody was in everybody's business, in as much as everybody's private business was out. Everybody's actions, everybody's not to say motivations, but motivation is more like a Scorpio, but um, what everybody was doing with their member was out. Like it wasn't something that anybody could hide. And when we saw Saturn, Neptune, we saw the Great League Epstein list, but also hidden investments or who's owning what. I don't know, media company, because Neptune is kind of big entertainment, but also entertainment and the big mergers and acquisitions of the companies that are behind the world, the publishers, the Maxwells, um, and so on and so forth. And the Dutch were very literal about it, just like end them all. It's one of the most literal media companies that I saw. But now Uranus in Taurus has been, or has been, um, everybody's unions, everybody's relational patterns. Uranus came to revolutionize relations. Astrology of relations became, and if I think about all this AI astrology, people can put a birth chart and so on, but they can get a really detailed something that, let's say when Uranus was in Pisces, it was more about, I don't know, more about, it was also relational because it's Jupiter, but it was the beginning of. Uranus, if I go to astro.com or to astro.com allowed people to pay for a report and get like a very detailed report that an astrologer wrote. Authority astrology is already, I think, I haven't tried them, but the type of AI astrology is already Googling it, which is new level of things. Upon every move, there are some things are lost in translations, and some things are added. But also, Uranus really discovered everything hidden about relations. So, if Uranus in Aries was the Me Too, everybody's sexual. By the way, misconduct or conduct, not just the sexual bad stuff were out in Aries. But also with Taurus, the intelligence schemes of honeypots were out. For example, I discovered that growing half Israeli, half Dutch, I never had the chance to have a happy, secure attachment, relaxed arousal, loving, sustainable relationship. It cannot sustain in a honeypot situation. Every single man, without seeing me, would think I'm a honeypot. My deprived, I don't know, deprived human touch because I needed this touch, and my parents, for that touch as a non-erotic hug, um, created polarity in sexual energy that magnetized people with similar polarities. Everybody would think I'm a honeypot. I would not understand. I would ponder if they also raped, and and that's a very shaky basis. Um, the normalization of and here's the thing, the normalization. If when we talk about, let's say, I think one of the greatest revolutions of Uranus in Mars sign was the neural connection to sexual behavior, to sexual or to sexual behavior consumption. And so people began to, let's say, get out of porn addiction because they noticed that they were not orgasming on oxytocin. And dopamine addiction through sexuality meant watching more and more violent scenes, which made it very difficult to have sexual relations. By the way, also the people that are trafficked into those things, for example, in Netherlands, they would program people um, to have to go to extremes and feel misplaced arousal. Now, um, Uranus in Taurus, if I think about even my Mars 22 in Scorpio, which is the opposite polarity, when is it assassination and when is it not? Am I living in a society where I have my yes, no, and maybe? Because if not, am I in a place where I can have my sensual embodiment, let's say? Because if the sensual is required to do stuff that I don't wish to do, it's not my sensual. Then the 22 becomes assassination. Because if my life are not honored, the natural thing is to bring the end to the best of one's ability. And this is where the 22, that is simply a Saturn degree, can be um, achievements in the ninth house that are of great importance. Um, Martian achievements. I had a dream to do with true crime. Yeah, like I was tending to something, was pondering. Um, but when it's not allowed to be in its embodied sensual embodiment mode, then it goes to Saturn is this. And then the 22nd degree becomes a death degree. It's kind of like, hey, if somebody is raped, then of course the 22 degree becomes murder. Okay, it's kind of like, if somebody is raped, then the sensuality with them is basically um, become. It's not even a bait for assassination because they were raped. And um, Uranus in Taurus really exposed the fact that they raped the people. They raped the spies. It's not just the sex spies, but they raped the spies. But they raped people to make them spies in childhood. Without abolishing rape, it's not only there's no relationships and sensual embodiment, but also diplomatic relationships, intelligence relationships. When the entire upbringing of entire population is based on chapters where they were exposed to violence, to dissociation, and treason based, that's not a society where happy thriving relations can be. Aries is kind of like, hey, rape doesn't breed sovereignty. Common sense. and and if the intelligence is method of training is by rape, intelligence doesn't bring sovereignty. When it comes to Uranus in Taurus, it's we can't have a happy thriving relation in a society that requires any relation to be a honeypot that nobody chose to be, by the way. Um, Also, when it comes to cold cases, we can't. If we're looking to understand, oh, what actually happened, the basis for that, for the clear cognizance, for the channeling, is exactly negating the basis of, let's say, the media and entertainment industry, in the context of which we look at true crime as well. Uranus in Gemini is also going to. Oh, another thing that Uranus definitely. Here's the thing: it's both the co-presence of Neptune in Mars sign and Uranus in Venus sign. How should I say that? Um, People could not hide their sex and gender anymore. Um, but also Sun Chiron in Aries. People cannot, how should I say that? People cannot ignore the role of the rape of children and the programming of them um, to be having sex with everyone um, when they come to think about the sexual orientation or gender, because they were supposed to cross as both for intelligence reasons, but those intelligence reasons are trafficking. Uranus in Taurus liberated a lot of how should I say? It's not a Uranus in Cancer. It's not a teaching of secure attachment and the psychology of things. Um, though these things did come out because they are connected to having relationships. Um, but it came up also when Uranus was in Aries, Neptune in Pisces, um, and Pluto in Capricorn. So it came. In fact, when I think about the context into which I ran into secure attachment was the I am context, the context of identity, and how important secure attachment is to the formation of identity, the developing brain, and so on and so forth. Um, they try to hang the teenage brain on mass shooting when it's kind of like way before. Um, because the mass shooters were actually mostly isolated in their society. They were not following their peers. They were not suddenly. They maybe have been trapped in a secret society. Um, Uranus, Taurus liberated so many of the teachings. If Uranus in Mars sign really exposed everything that is misplaced arousal, Uranus in Taurus began to give us the answer: embodied arousal, um, relaxed arousal. Um, if Uranus in Mars sign was addressing the hormonal aspect, because it's a neural aspect, Uranus in Taurus, the bodily aspects, and how the sense of embodiment is essential when it comes to sexuality. Um, Also regarding the inner experience, the heart alignment, and and those, treason and good sex that is not sex addiction or sex avoidance don't go together. People used to think about cheating, but what they didn't computate is basically their country's rape of infants and astral interference in an infant's limbic system, and generating um, generating challenges to the life energy, creating inflammation-based issues. And the exposure of when people say no to basically the Epstein list and their and the effect that it has on their ability to um, let's say have a career at any sector, academic sector, media sector. Now, every business requires a media presence. That means that if a person needs to um, be participating in rape in order to have a career, they can't grow a family. There's no point to talk about traditional family values. Or non-traditional family. And people with Uranus going through Mars sign to Aries and Taurus cannot ignore these things anymore. Those things cannot be swiped under the rug as anything. The intelligence is being litigated. The jurisdiction is being litigated. We're seeing people targeting the victims of the Epstein um, list or whatnot. But we also see that even when one thinks about the intelligence, um, the what's behind, let's say, voting patterns. People are aware that their sovereignty is a non-negotiable. No, what makes or breaks sovereignty is if a person is raped or not. So their sovereignty is non-negotiable. It's a life or death issue. In Uranus and Taurus, their their ability to have happy, thriving relations. You can't in a rapey society. One cannot have trust. And all the tactics that were rape based and trafficking based, these are that's the big boom of people complaining about their narcissistic partner. Their narcissistic partner was basically a child that was raped and kidnapped by the intelligence and had no way out and had to commit treason to stay alive. Their borderline spouse is exactly the same issue. She's not promiscuous, she's raped. She didn't know what she was getting into because that's the essence of trafficking. We can't talk about personal responsibility when people are raped. An infant doesn't choose to be raped. It doesn't choose to be astrally targeted or targeted by classified technologies. Now, when a helpless child is hurt, the child will not necessarily grow to think about itself as a helpless child, but it will be aware of many things that happen in the world that don't make sense. Uranus in Taurus um, really exposed all the hidden relational patterns. It was a lovely time where anything clandestine would be on air. What and nobody could claim that somebody wanted it. What do people want? Happy, thriving, loving relations. In rape and trafficking based society, they don't stand a chance to have that. And it affects everyone. Uranus in Taurus, many people either suddenly marry or suddenly divorce. I'm actually wondering what will be in Netherlands when Uranus going through the 12th house, because the thing that was the most normalized is actually fundamentally being rebelled against. And it's an international revolution when it happens. Last time there was, I think, a femicide, but I don't know if the femicide was still Uranus in Taurus. Um, that's the country that was most involved with trying to say that the Me Too went too far, because the normalized child rape and trafficking to such a degree that um, that the fundamentals being rebelled against is exactly that, and not from a point of virtue, from a point of actual ability to have loving relations. That's the power of Taurus. While Venus is definitely about values, Venus is also relational. So it's not about, if I think virtue is a Jupiter word, value is a Venus word. And the value here is not about virtue. The value is the what comes after the common sense of the I am. To have a relationship, we need two sovereigns. Can't happen in a rate-based society. To have trust in relationships, we need sovereign. We can't rape infants, traffic people, profit off of targeting people to be raped, tortured, and trafficked, and say, "Oh, why are you cheating on me?" I wonder why. But these people are whores, and you are. If there is such a thing as whore, then the biggest whore is the trafficker. I don't think there is such a thing as whore. But one cannot do all these things, and I know they never chose to, and then I say, "Oh, but they're cheating on me." How are they going to be committed to treason? In a society where people had to commit treason in their most dear ones? Without, and this is also how the Epstein list fell in that context. Even from perspective of astrology of relations. I take a look and I say, well, the outer planets, the biggest challenges, they can be with the inner planets, but the outer planets to inner planets are some of the biggest challenges. What is the outer planets? The intergenerational ones. So let's say there is a Pluto to Venus. The structures of politics, nuclear energy, particle physics, um, and and economy, and occult, at odd relations with Venus. So we need to fix that on a societal level. Amazing. Can't rape children anymore. Epstein's. And then we're supposed to believe that, oh, astrology doesn't work. No, it does. And then the Epstein files are out. Neptune at odd aspects with Venus. Well, let's say Neptune at odd aspects with Mars. Feeling helpless in the face of sexuality. Neptune rules mafiosi activity, hidden activity, intelligence, media, and espionage. When children are raped to dissociation or tortured to dissociation, of course it challenges our self-trust and sovereignty around sexuality. And it's also pertaining to our memory. Um, in a society where children are tortured to the point that they try to make other people, um, or that they try to create and claim that people invite situations that are not good for them while they try to um, arrange bad circumstances for people. They can't just go back to their family life and have their child looking in their eyes and looking up to something. Uranus aspects to Venus. Sudden unexplained attraction and repulsion. Depending if it's a hard aspect, it's the easy answer. But Uranus Venus also liberates us from certain notions. Hey, that person is so messy. They never fix their room. They never this. They never that. Um, that messiness has a function. Order can happen where there is trust, when there is embodiment, where there is relaxed arousal. Cleanliness is something that we do around intimacy. We cannot have cleanliness when we are not in a place where there can be intimacy, even with ourselves. Uranus is also ideas, the ideas somebody has about women and about relations. There are certain entire religions that are incompatible with happy relations, thriving relations. If your religion believes in slavery, is incompatible with relations. If your religion believes that there is such thing as sex work, whether it's virtuous or not, is incompatible with happy, thriving intimacy, sensuality, and relations. One of the I grew up in Israel. I sought for partner. I sought somebody maybe from other culture or religion because I don't go with genital mutilation. Because of course those things as infants affect the mature, growing, sensual and non-sensual self. If your religion connects sensuality to virtue and doesn't discuss rape, then it sees the raped person as unvirtuous and blame it on the choices of the infant. If your religion um, says that women that honor themselves need to wear a tent on their, however well decorated, and that that is a sign of modesty, and glorifies being dominant over women. In fact, one of the great things that happened to Arabs in the social media is following the Palestine. Everybody was like, "How come LGBTQ supports Palestine?" And then Arab men had to have the pro gay shorts. So the Arab gay liberation. Um, and both the co-presence of Aries at the end of Aries and Uranus in Taurus was the revolution of the cisgendered women. Because the cisgender women, they were like, they couldn't actually be with a partner because the partners were not really accommodating for thriving relations because of the state of the society. And they were like, yeah, gay rights, amazing. Homosexual rights, amazing. Transgender women, what about us? Even if I have a gender fluid aspect to me, my cisgender woman is deprived. And she never has been free. None of you guys, from the most non-conforming to the most cisgender man, can have a happy, thriving relationship and sexuality without me, the cisgender part of me, the cisgender woman of me, being safe and free. The part that waited that all the parts can be free to express themselves. That part that didn't even need to be LGBTQ to be susceptible to murder. And that is at the heart of all the weird things we see about relations. That femininity could all, whether you're gay or straight, cisgender, or I don't know, gay man sex or gay trans man or gay trans woman or whatnot, you could only express femininity in its toxic form because of these societal societal um, use of the intimate and the relational as tradable. And then people are like, oh, they sold my country. Where were you at the Me Too? A person wearing this clothes or that clothes is not inviting anything. And a people having certain types of erotic communication is on basis of relaxed arousal. That's Uranus at the end of Taurus. Now Lilith in Sag in the background, or not so in the background, is also reminding Venus that, hey, the religion and philosophy that was not up to speed with all this Venus needs to go. There's no place for a religion that doesn't honor the people that are supposed to be following the religion. Like, who is this religion for? Who is this philosophy for? How can people talk about virtue when there is rape in the world? And all the world falls apart every time exactly on that issue. Oh, they burned the offices of, I don't know, OpenAI in this because of labor. Where were these labor rights at the Me Too? They did a megalithic destruction event in the offices. Amazing. They did a ritual. They worked for free doing a ritual. But do they go back and watch a person being raped? Glorifying this as whatever? All this social revolution doing the hand gestures of the mafia. They traffic children and people. The drugs were so that people will be drugged up when they rape and then be held accountable for responsibility when they were kidnapped. A person being able to control themselves is not about virtue. It's about their own self-trust. And in that, a person says, okay, what interferes with that sovereignty? What interferes with that self-trust? It's not the person in front of me. What in that situation interfered? And it goes back to what's happening to children, right? When a person goes to a psychological consultation, what is the first thing they look at? What was the upbringing like? What is the upbringing like in Epstein states? And because it's global, seeking a different culture or a different um, or something different. Something is like, hey, is there a place in the world where people actually have happy, safe, thriving relation? It's like even a place for me to learn that from. And if not, is it wonder that the world is manifesting entire and total extinction of everything? Uranus and Gemini will be applying to trine Pluto. But this time it's the Pluto of Aquarius, which is another really global nuclear. Um, Neptune Aries, the nature of action or the nature of a job. Intelligence compounds to perpetual war with rape. When rape is justified as the nature of a job, then it compounds to total world extinction. And people find out that that job is more and more jobs because it's supposed to be clandestine, right? So, what kind of regimes does it generate? Don't expect national security in those regimes. Don't expect human right when you normalize the rape of people under nature of a job. If there's a job which nature is rape, then don't expect human rights. What is it if a person is raped, however normalized? Oh, the nature of the job is this. Let's say a person even accepted that upon himself. If rape is reasonable, total human extinction is what? Better sex for better world. No, not by rape and stuff like that. No, 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 no. Boom! One sudden megalithic boom. Humanity gone. With everything that's alive. This is a good job done. You don't like the results that job yield? Well, don't make rape a part of the job. You think our leaders were not raped? People are like, oh, there's sexual misconduct. Yes. How do they generate sex offenders? Now the Pluto Scorpios are having their Pluto squares, and the Neptune Capricorns are having the Neptune squares. What does it generate? Pluto Neptune sextile with Scorpio and Neptune in Capricorn. Um, Underground or underwater nuclear explosions that leave radiation all the way through the mountains.